දුම්පත් කේස්තිමාල් කුරුම් අධි රාබුයෙන් ފަދަ ආදකාදතන් හිමෙනි.
Manadu, Nunu Atoll, signaling a renewed governmental focus on expanding healthcare. President addressing residents of Landu reaffirms commitment to commence a substantial portion of the development pledges. President announces major development projects for Malandu, including the much-needed shore protection and land reclamation for the island. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Minha Maroof. President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu attends the inauguration of a series of infrastructure projects in Manadu, Nunu Atoll, signaling a renewed governmental focus on expanding healthcare access and promoting public well-being. The initiative centered on the construction of a 50-bed hospital and a government-backed fitness and recreation center in Manadu form part of a broader strategy to strengthen essential services across the country. The visit to Manadu is part of the President's official tour of 13 islands in Nunu Atoll, aimed at advancing development efforts and engaging with local communities. A key highlight of the tour was the groundbreaking ceremony for the new hospital in Manadu, a 12.12 million project scheduled for completion within 780 days. Minister of Health Abdullah Nazim Ibrahim and Maldives Transport and Contracting Company MTCC Chief Executive Officer Ahmad Saudi laid the ceremonial foundation stone, joined by Member of Parliament Husni Mubarak and Council President Abdurrahman Sabih. Designed to serve approximately 3,000 residents of Manadu, along with others in the surrounding region, the facility is expected to reduce reliance on inter-island travel and provide access to modern medical services within the community. The hospital's construction aligns with the administration's broader healthcare agenda. In an interview with PSM News, Health Minister Nazim reaffirmed plans to expand services at Nunu Atoll Hospital, citing strong public demand and President Muizzu's vision for elevated care standards. The minister outlined a national policy to upgrade regional hospitals to tertiary-level facilities and enhance service offerings at Atoll hospitals. He said psychiatry, physiotherapy and speech therapy are among the services prioritized for development. Addressing residents of Manadu earlier, President confirmed that while the new hospital is under construction, enhanced services, including physiotherapy, mental health care and speech therapy would be introduced at the hospital. He also noted that the past 18 months have seen sustained efforts to reinforce the health system, with several projects nearing completion and additional initiatives set to begin. The President's tour also included the launch of a new fitness and recreation center, part of the government's investment in sports and wellness infrastructure. Minister of Sports, Fitness and Recreation Abdullah Rafiu laid the ceremonial foundation stone, joined by senior officials. The center, to be built by MTCC, complements additional initiatives such as an outdoor gym and a proposed multi-sports complex supported by the Indian government. These facilities aim to promote active lifestyles and strengthen community engagement. President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu, addressing residents during his visit to Landu in the northern Nunu Atoll, reaffirms his administration's commitment to commence a substantial portion of the development pledges made to the island during his presidential campaign within the current year. He underscored that groundwork on many of these commitments had already begun and expressed confidence that practical implementation would follow promptly. In keeping with the tour's broader agenda, the Landu visit underscored the administration's intent to respond directly to local concerns and fulfill key electoral promises. The groundbreaking ceremony for a new fitness and recreation center emerged as a principal highlight of the president's visit to Landu. During his public address, President Muizu outlined the trajectory of several promised initiatives, assuring residents that a considerable portion of the commitments would see visible progress within the year. Among the pledges gaining traction was the upgrade of Landu's healthcare center to a 24-hour facility, with staffing and resource allocation actively underway. The address also included plans to introduce handball courts in multiple islands, including Landu, as standalone development efforts. The president expanded his remarks to include education and the local economy. With respect to economic infrastructure, the president confirmed that work on an ice plant had already commenced and that the requisite foreign funding approvals were in place to enable its completion before year-end. A meeting held at the Landu Council office provided a platform for community representatives to raise priority concerns. Council members, joined by the Women's Development Committee and officials from various institutions, highlighted several pressing challenges. The conversation also touched upon the stalled ice plant initiative and the absence of adequate sports facilities for younger residents. The presidential visit culminated in the ceremonial laying of the foundation stone for the new Fitness and Recreation Center. Overseen by Minister of Sports, Fitness and Recreation Abdullah Rafiu, the event was attended by President Muizu and senior officials. During a prior stop in Kendikuludu as part of the Nunu Atoll tour, President reaffirmed this commitment to sports development, referencing upcoming infrastructure projects such as futsal court renovations and the rollout of comprehensive facilities for athletes. The tour includes stops at Mafaru, Hembadu, Huludu, Rohi, Kudafari, Kendikuludu, Velidu, Manadu, Magudu, Malendu, Milandu and Foddu. President Dr. Mohammad Muizu announces major development projects for Malendu, Nunu Atoll, including the much-needed shore protection and land reclamation for the island. Addressing the residents of Malendu, President Dr. Muizu assured that the government is putting in every effort for the development of the island, reaffirming his commitment to fulfilling his electoral pledges. The president admitted to challenges faced to implement development projects throughout the country, but assured that most of these challenges have been resolved, paving the way to the commencement of infrastructure development projects. He highlighted land erosion as one of the most pressing concerns for Malendu, pledging to kickstart the shore protection project next month, along with the development of a jetty on the west side of the island. In addition, the president also acknowledged the land shortage in the island, which has hindered housing and economic activity in Malendu, pledging to include a land reclamation project in the next year's state budget without compromising on the natural beauty of the island. President Dr. Muizu said the Atoll Council's legal challenge has prevented the government from integrating Tholendu into the jurisdiction of Malendu. The president vowed to continue the island's school and the recreation center project without any interruptions, adding that additional medical equipment has been mobilized to strengthen healthcare services in Malendu. President Dr. Muizu, during his visit, also witnessed the groundbreaking of the Malendu Fitness and Recreation Center. Prior to meeting residents, President Dr. Muizu met with members of the Malendu Island Council, the Women's Development Committee and heads of local institutions to discuss the island's key development priorities. The members expressed their desire for the school building to be completed promptly and for the school to shift to a single-session system. They also discussed the challenges of establishing facilities to improve health services on the island. President Dr. Muizu stated that the issues raised by the council would be reviewed. The Elections Commission of Maldives, ECM, asks the parliament to stretch the required period to hold referendums to 120 days as it conducts a legislative review of a measure that seeks to codify the nation's referendum procedures. The draft bill submitted to Parliament last week stipulates that the ECM must organize a referendum between 45 to 90 days after receiving a resolution from either Parliament or the President. ECM officials during the Parliamentary Independent Institutions Committee, tasked with the legislative review, expressed concern over the short time frame for voter registration and public awareness. ECM President Mohammad Zahid admitted the importance of a separate legislation on referendums. However, he insisted that the Commission needs time to inform, raise awareness and make the public understand the respective referendum question before a vote is taken. Zahid pointed out that the exact date of the current elections is known in advance, giving ECM ample time to prepare for the polls. However, he said the maximum 90 days is not nearly enough time to complete the entire voting process, especially to raise public awareness, urging the Parliament to stretch the period stipulated in the bill to 190 days. Zahid insisted that ECM would facilitate an election if mandated by law, but urged the Parliament to consider the difficulties faced in financing and recruitment of election officials. As a solution, he recommended that to include a provision in the law that mandates the state to allocate the budget within a certain period from the date the ECM receives the resolution to hold a referendum. The government conducts a special training workshop designed to further strengthen the fight against human trafficking and empower relevant state institutions. The Minister of Higher Education, Labour and Skills Development, Dr. Ali Haider Ahmed, attended the opening ceremony of the conference, Redefining Responsibilities in Combating Human Trafficking, as the chief guest. In his address, the minister commended the theme as a timely and courageous call to reassess the roles of individuals and institutions in tackling human trafficking. He emphasized that the conference marks the beginning of the Anti-Human Trafficking Action Plan 2025, spearheaded by the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Office under the Ministry of Homeland Security and Technology. Acknowledging the particular vulnerabilities of small island nations, the minister underscored the importance of vigilance, strengthened interagency cooperation, and an unwavering commitment to justice. State Minister for Homeland Security and Technology, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Dr. Abdullah Fairoush, speaking at the function, said the government alone cannot win the fight against human trafficking. The main objective of the two-day training program at Crossroads, Maldives is to identify victims of human trafficking and devise ways to offer assistance. The purpose of the training program is also to raise awareness among all institutions involved in the prevention of human trafficking and to discuss ways to strengthen the measures taken against it. Maldives Monetary Authority sanctions dollar allocation to local banks by another 10% to facilitate more support for local businesses.
The MMA said in a statement that the change will take effect from this week, which will enable banks to increase the proportion of dollars facilitated to small and medium enterprises to 40%. In June, MMA revised its policy to mandate local banks foreign exchange requirement from the previous 60% to 90%. MMA utilizes 60% of the proceeds for various government foreign currency obligations and to increase foreign reserves. However, according to the MMA, with the recent change, it has been selling the extra 30% back to the banks every week. MMA said the portion has been designated for specific purposes, including essential public needs, food imports, and to provide foreign exchange assistance to small and medium enterprises. The primary aim of the change is to ensure that the banks can facilitate the foreign exchange requirements of local businesses through weekly foreign exchange sales in a more robust and equitable system. Under the Foreign Exchange Act, with the amendment to the foreign exchange regulations, the proportion of dollars sold through banks to small and medium enterprises is now at 30%, which the central bank aims to take up to 50%. The Foreign Exchange Act, which requires tourism establishments to exchange or deposit their dollar revenue to local banks, came into effect on 1st January this year. Since the introduction of the Foreign Exchange Act, $364 million has been deposited with banks as of June this year. This year, $174 million has been utilized for debt repayment, marking a 51% increase compared to the same period last year. AstraZeneca plans to spend $50 billion to expand manufacturing and research capabilities in the U.S. by 2030, the latest big investment by a pharmaceutical company reacting to President Donald Trump's tariff policy. AstraZeneca said the investment will fund a new drug manufacturing facility in Virginia and expand research and development (R&D) and cell therapy manufacturing in Maryland, Massachusetts, California, Indiana, and Texas. It will also upgrade the Anglo-Swedish drug maker's U.S. clinical trial supply network and support ongoing investment in novel medicines. On 21st July, AstraZeneca said the expansion supports its ambition to reach $80 billion in annual revenue by 2030, with half coming from the U.S. The U.S. accounted for more than 40% of AstraZeneca's annual revenue in 2024, and the company had been prioritizing the market, the world's largest, worth $635 billion, before Trump's return to office. The move to scale up its U.S. footprint is the latest by a drug maker as Trump threatens to impose import tariffs on the industry and seeks to boost domestic manufacturing. The sector has historically been spared from trade disputes. Trump has called on pharma companies to make more of the medicines they sell in the U.S. within the country rather than importing active ingredients or finished medicines. CEO Pascal Soriot announced the plans in Washington. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's department is leading a probe into pharmaceutical imports that could pave the way for new tariffs. While Trump has repeatedly threatened tariffs on the sector, he signaled earlier this month that companies would be given an year to 18 months to get their act together before any levies take effect. The company said that the timing and location of the announcement was linked to the U.S. policy environment, though some of the spending would have occurred regardless so that the infrastructure for future medicines was in place. The statement said the pledge is in addition to the $3.5 billion in investments the company announced in November 2024. Japan's Nikkei share average climbs as investors returning from an extended holiday weekend reacted positively to the outcome of the upper house election, which aligned with market expectations. The Nikkei rose just over 1% at one point shortly after opening, before falling back slightly to a 0.6% gain. Japan's ruling coalition lost control of the upper house in an election on Sunday, July 20th, further weakening Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's grip on power, even as he vowed to remain party leader. Francis Lun, chief executive at Geo Securities, said he believes Ishiba will stay on.
Surprise, although the LDP lost control of the upper house on Sunday's election, the Japanese market opened up more than 300 points this morning, and Nikkei index rose about 40,000. I think the key point we take from this is that people do not expect much change in the political scene in Japan. Prime Minister Ishiba will hang on to his job.
The election was closely monitored as Ishiba's party also lost control of the more powerful lower house in elections last year, and his Liberal Democratic Party was facing calls from opposition parties pledging to cut taxes. A British F-35 fighter jet takes off from Thiruvananthapuram after weeks of being stranded at the Indian coastal city's airport. The Royal Navy aircraft was forced to make an emergency landing at the airport of the state capital Thiruvananthapuram on June 14th and has been grounded ever since, despite efforts to repair it. The Indian Air Force said last month it would help in the repair and return of the F-35, which made an emergency landing on June 14th when it was flying over the Arabian Sea off Kerala's coast. An AI-generated image of the stealth aircraft parked on the tarmac surrounded by coconut trees has gone viral after it was shared by Kerala's tourism department as part of a tourism campaign. In the viral social media post, originally created by entertainment website The Foxy, the jet can be seen giving the state of Kerala 5 golden stars, calling it an amazing place. Scorching heat gripped the wider Balkan region on Tuesday, July 22nd, fueling wildfires in Bulgaria and Albania. Authorities in Bulgaria urged businesses to give away water and cut physical labor during high-risk hours. A large wildfire in the Costin Brod region near Sofia has damaged at least 10 properties and prompted evacuations as firefighting teams work to contain one remaining active front, local authorities said, adding 12 fire brigade teams were engaged at the scene. Costin Brod municipality has declared a partial state of emergency covering the villages of Opitsvet, Bezden and Bogyovci. In Albania, firefighters assisted by 4 aircraft from Italy and Greece battled 2 wildfires at a national park in the north and near the southwestern village of Dukat. In Montenegro, major roads were congested as many rushed to the beaches to find relief from the heat. Last month, large parts of Western Europe sweltered in another severe heat wave that left many dead and triggered forest fires and health alerts across the region. Across the globe, 2024 was the warmest year on record, with temperatures exceeding 1.5 Celsius above the pre-industrial era for the first time. Research published last week showed that the soil surface temperature around Athens rose in some places by as much as 10 degrees Celsius since July 2024 after fires destroyed vegetation. Badminton world number 1 Kunlavut Wittitsan fights back from dropping the first game to beat Indonesia's Alwi Farhan and go through to the second round of the China Open in Changshu. The Thai top seed lost the opening game but took the next 2 to go through 10-21, 21-15, 21-18. He will face Leong Jun Hao in the second round. The Malaysian, downing Japan's world number 13 Kenta Nishimoto 21-15, 21-18 in just 45 minutes. Also through in the men's draw is China's Li Shifeng, who saved 2 match points on his way to a hard-fought 14-21, 24-22, 21-11 victory over India's Lakshya Sen. Women's 4th seed Han Yue of China battled her way past Japan's Natsuki Nidaira 21-9, 12-21 and 21-17, while her compatriot 5th seed Chen Yufei had a much easier time, needing just 35 minutes to beat South Korea's Kim Ga-eun 21-15, 21-11. A robot that can detect buried mines, a system that spots stolen cars at toll booths, a tractor that both irrigates crops and plows fields. These were among the inventions Nigerian students brought to a robotics competition in Lagos called Battle of the Bots. The competition challenged young innovators to develop solutions for pressing local issues across 5 key sectors: education, power, security, agriculture, and healthcare. Kelechi Uchenna, CEO of Nigenius, organized the event. Nigenius is an online platform that provides tutoring resources to help schools deliver STEM curricula through specialized courses in coding and robotics.
We wanted to show the potential that STEAM education has in Nigeria and Africa. these kids are going to power the next technology revolution in Nigeria, right? The current technology revolution in Nigeria is powered by software, but the next phase is going to be powered by software, hardware, AI, robotics, and IoT, and it's these kids that are going to power it. So we want to show people the power that it has, the potential that it has, and how it can help Africa solve its developmental challenges.
Nigeria is rapidly building its artificial intelligence capabilities. This year, the government began training 6,000 secondary school teachers nationwide to teach AI